recording, so if you do not want to be seen, feel free to turn your camera off. Right, so right, today it's going to be more of an information session rather than too much talking and discussing. Hopefully, if we've got time at the end, we'll do that as well. But what I really wanted to do is focus on the employer encounters part of the programme. And we've got some visitors come today to help us with that, to give you a few more ideas about how we can make that work. So just a couple of updates before we do that. Hopefully by now you should have the link for the second CPD seminar, which is due at the end of February. If you haven't had that through, please do email me and I'll chase it up for you. It should have come through last week. We were told that you were going to get it last week. If not, then yeah, just drop me a line and I will chase it for you, because I know things don't always go quite as we'd like them to. Module 3 is now also live on Brightspace. So if you're able to, you can get started on that one. And that's great. But please do, if any of you are having trouble with the CPD, if you feel like you're falling way behind and you just can't do it or anything like that, please do just drop me a line, because yeah, I am here to help you and I will certainly do whatever I can do to ease that if it's feeling like a bit of a burden. Hopefully it's not, but if it is, then please do feel free to get in touch. Now, hopefully you've also all received this document, this booklet in the via email. I think I've actually ended up sending it twice now, so hopefully you have got it somewhere. Spent a lot of time putting that one together, so hopefully it's got everything you need in it to set up some really good employer encounters and to help you feel confident about how to do that and how to make the encounters as helpful and as meaningful as possible. So what I'm going to do today is, although I did send an agenda, I'm going to switch it around a little bit, because what I want to do is maximize the time that you get with these providers that have come to talk to you today. What I was going to do is go through briefly what was in that guide that I've already sent out, but turns out you've actually already got that, so the time is probably better spent giving you more times to ask questions to the people who have come today. So I am going to stop sharing for a minute. Hopefully that's gone back to normal, and introduce you to Catherine, who has come from Graphic Science today, who is going to share some slides and tell you about the STEM Ambassador Programme. Now I'm not sharing, I will be able to monitor your chat. So if you've got any questions while Catherine's speaking, feel free to put them in the chat. And once she's done her little bit, we will pause and let you ask any questions you have as well. Does that sound okay? Yeah, perfect. Great. Over to you, Catherine. Thank you very much.
So hopefully you have that nice and big. My name is Catherine and I'm a part of the STEM Ambassador Programme team for the Southwest of England. We're a national volunteering programme that aims to support all schools across all phases across the entirety of the UK, which is our big goal, our main aim. But my focus is just entirely on the Southwest and all of the schools within this patch. I spend quite a lot of time working with different employers, universities, industries, lots of different people who do different things within science, technology, engineering and maths, with the aim of linking them to schools to support different projects, different topics you may be teaching, extracurricular activities, whatever it is that you may be doing within your classroom, where you'd like to bring an additional person into that classroom setting and have them engage with your young people. Just as some quick examples of some support that we have offered to schools previously. The picture on the left-hand side is STEM Ambassador Mike. He supported Robert Le King Primary School, which is the students within this picture, to participate in the Sustainable Transport Challenge. This is a programme that we run just within the Southwest, so it's very specific to our region. And within that challenge, students are tasked to design a sustainable journey to a place of global environmental significance. And this picture was taken at the celebration event, where the students are showcasing their work, what they have created across the few weeks that they were participating in the challenge. Mike acted as a project mentor, going into the school a couple of times, supporting students in figuring out their ideas and how best to present them, and then how to create their models as well. So very practical, hands-on engineering is Mike. And on the right-hand side, this is within the University of the West of England. The adults in this picture are undergraduate students, and they are supporting students to do a microbit-based activity. So they're all there doing a coding day. It was a really lovely day within the prototype and play lab that they have up there. I appreciate that that's quite far away from all of you, and probably not a trip you especially want to make. I'm just looking to give examples of the different types of things that STEM ambassadors could do to support you within your school setting. We work on a request basis. So this means that whatever you need, whatever you feel like your students would benefit from, you can make a request to us within the STEM Ambassador program, and we will then try to find you an appropriate volunteer to come in and support you with whatever that activity may be. So if you're thinking that you've got a topic coming up, but you really want to link it to different careers, different roles that exist that relate to that topic, then you can make a request to the STEM Ambassador program, and then we will then promote that request out to try and find you a volunteer that does some work related to that topic to come into your classroom and give a talk, perhaps run an activity, whatever it is that you feel is most appropriate for your young people. So you can request pretty much anything, so long as it is STEM based. You know, it's reasonable in terms of time frames. We usually ask for about 6 weeks notice to be able to find some volunteers. And you have the option of asking for STEM ambassadors to visit in person, if that would be preferable, or you can ask for online support. The perk of the online support is we can throw a really wide net across the entirety of the Southwest to try and find different people doing wildly different things to support you in whatever way that you feel is most appropriate for you and your students. Because we are funded, that means that all of our volunteers go through a DBS check. They all hold an enhanced child workforce DBS. They also complete our induction training, which is an introduction to child safeguarding, and we're completely free to access. So there are no costs associated with you making a request to the STEM Ambassador program. You can make one request, you can make 17. None of it is going to cost you or your school anything beyond sort of time organising your volunteers' arrival or participation within events. And those volunteers can do pretty much anything within reason. So they can give a presentation about their job, they can support you, perhaps be a part of your school governorship team if that's something that you were particularly looking for, or perhaps you've got a project coming up or a competition, or maybe you're looking to launch a STEM club or something interactive, or if you're just looking to do something very careers focused, maybe you just want a 10-minute assembly talk on a Monday morning. That is all completely fine and within the realms of what the STEM Ambassador program could offer to you and your students. The process for requesting a STEM Ambassador is exclusively online. So you create an online listing and then comes through to me and my colleagues, so actual people. We will then make sure that your request goes under the noses of all the STEM ambassadors that we have within that region that we feel would be an appropriate fit for your request. So we will be doing things with your request, not just leaving it idly sat there on an online system. You'll get an expression of interest notification if a volunteer comes forward, and from there it's a case of you deciding whether or not you feel that that volunteer is an appropriate fit for your request and whether or not logistically it's all going to work out. That call is entirely yours. If you have any concerns, any queries, then myself and the team are happy sitting in front of our computers ready to chat with you or deal with any problems as and when they come up. Because we are working with volunteers and because everything is on a request basis, we can't guarantee that we can fill every request. If you give us that 6 weeks notice as a minimum, then we're usually able to fill the vast majority of them. If you're a bit flexible with the date, then that makes things even easier. If you have anything really, really specific that you're looking to do, then we're happy to have a chat and just try and work out whether or not it's going to be feasible with volunteers. We're always here, and you can contact us on ambassadors@graphicscience.co.uk if you have any questions. And that is my brief introduction to STEM Ambassadors. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Catherine. That's great. Yeah, we will give you time for either typing questions or you can use your raise your hand thing if you want to as well. We do happen to know on good authority that there are a lot of STEM ambassadors in Plymouth and around Plymouth because I've met quite a lot of them. And so that you have got a lot there are people there. It's not one of those we'll ask for volunteers and they're all in Bristol kind of thing. They're not, they are local. So yeah, any questions? Okay, I'm going to go for a no. If you do think of one, feel free to put it in the chat, and Catherine's going to stick around for a while, and hopefully can I send out those slides, Catherine, to everyone? Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. So you'll have all the details there about how to do it, but it's a great program. There's loads of local people raring and ready to come into your school. So if that's going to fit with what you want to do for your employer encounters, we definitely recommend giving that a go. But yeah, top tips is what Catherine said. Give plenty of notice. Don't be super specific. And if you can be flexible on times and dates, that's going to really help your ability to get the person you want into your school. So thanks, Catherine. And now I'm going to pass over to Sam, who's going to tell you about another opportunity that you can use. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Tony. Actually, while I've been sat here, I've actually got three things I want to highlight, if that's okay. Hi everyone, I'm Sam and I work for CFW Group. We cover the Southwest Peninsula, do a lot of work on behalf of our 4 local authority owners, Plymouth, Devon, Cornwall, Torbay. For many years, we delivered the STEM Ambassador Programme, so I know Catherine very well, and we still are one of the network partners for STEM learning. And so one of the things, well, the first thing I want to talk to you about is about a programme that we're delivering across the Southwest that's all around space. It's funded through SRO UK, and a lot of the kind of people that you would be working with as employers through this programme would actually be STEM ambassadors. But I wanted to direct you, I'm going to share my screen briefly just so you can see exactly where, because it's on the website. So I don't know, because I'm guessing that not all of you are science teachers, and so you may not necessarily know about this website, but it's stem.org.uk and then /SRO. I can put the link in the chat as well. But there are huge, there's a huge amount on here that you can access all free of charge in terms of resources and competitions, and then also the space inspiration. So it's really around, as it says here, using the context of space to inspire and engage young people. Bringing space into your teaching, whether that's through CPD for yourself as teachers, resources, as I've said, and then space inspirations, which is the kind of the activities that STEM ambassadors would do within your classroom. The Space Inspiration Scheme is one of many that when STEM ambassadors register, they can, if they're working in the space or aerospace industry, for example, they would tick that box to say that they're working in that sector. And then we know that they are related to space in some way. And these are the STEM ambassadors that will be working on the programme with us. You may also not be aware, but there are lots of different competitions and projects and challenges that you could sign up to. Some of these move across kind of primary and secondary age, but it's a really great way to engage the students in something that links to the curriculum, but is also a little bit extracurricular and enrichment. So definitely look at that. I can tell you a bit more about that if you have interest in any of those particularly. I can set up another time to speak to you. The Space Education Quality Mark, that is something else that you can do if you really are a school that has a lot of interest or connections with space. Then you may want to consider looking at that structure and getting a quality mark. I wanted to flag Mars Day, which some of you may not necessarily be aware of. It's become an annual thing now, and it's certainly a great opportunity for you to really hone in and have space as a focus for that day. It's coming up on the 5th of March, and lots of STEM ambassadors will be delivering activities and talks. I'm aware of something going on in Cornwall. I'm not sure at the moment whether there's anything happening in Plymouth, but if there's enough interest across the schools doing the Start Small Dream Big project, then we could certainly work with Graphic Science to put something together for you on that date or around that date. Again, there are lots of resources and things that you can access, and there will be loads of other stuff going on too. Obviously, we've got Space Week in October, which is obviously later in the year. So Space Inspirations, yeah, I'm just going to stop sharing now if I can. It's my box, there it is. Yeah, the Space Inspirations programme. So if you do want a STEM ambassador who's working in the space, any of the space or aerospace sectors, then you would request that support exactly the way that Catherine has explained to you on the system. If you want to talk a little bit about maybe how to involve a STEM ambassador in a bit more of an in-depth way, then I know that we're particularly looking for schools who might be interested in having a STEM ambassador in residence. So that would be something that we'd love to talk to you about. And the idea behind that is that you would have a named STEM ambassador, or maybe an employer with several STEM ambassadors who you could connect with in a more sustained way. They could come in and do a variety of different things for you, maybe a talk or a practical activity. Maybe if you want to do some project work, they could support you with that. So if that's something that has piqued your interest, then let me know. So that's SRO. The other thing I wanted to flag, because I'm aware that the whole point of this project is really to start introducing those concepts of kind of early career-related learning and career aspirations while students are in a primary setting. So one of the other things that we deliver as an organisation is we are an awarding body for the Quality in Careers Standard. It's called Investor in Careers, and historically we've worked with secondary schools, but we do have a primary standard, and basically it's a framework for you to look at what provision you do have, to audit what you currently deliver for your students, and it would support you to look at ways in which you can bring your curriculum to life and make those career connections, bring in employers and other people like that. So if you would like to find out a bit more about that, then let me know too. And finally, I just thought about it as we were chatting earlier, because it's Plymouth specific. I don't know whether any of you are going to be having someone come to read in your school on World Book Day, which is obviously coming up in March. Now, I'm going to be reading actually in one of the schools, and I know quite a few STEM ambassadors in Plymouth tend to get involved on that day. But if you're not signed up, it's organised in Plymouth through PCIP, Kerry, Promoting Children in Plymouth. So they're all people that are working in industry. So it's just another great way to get someone to visit your school. So if you're not involved in that, then I can tell you more. And I think that is all I was going to say. Great to be here.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, and all the things that Sam's mentioned, I'll send you across links, everybody links, so you can check that out later. Any questions specifically for Sam? Again, if it comes to you later, that's fine as well. Just pop something in the chat. Thanks, Catherine. She's answered a question from Luke in the chat while we've been doing that, so that's fantastic. Great, so thanks very much, Sam. And we have our third guest. Jude has arrived from Primary Futures. So Jude, do you mind just telling us about how Primary Futures can help our teachers on the call today? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony. And thanks to everyone for being here. It's really great to see you all. So as Tony said, my name is Jude. So I am Senior Primary Coordinator at Primary Futures. So a lot of my job is helping teachers like yourself either kind of set up for the first time what you're doing around careers, or set up kind of first employer encounter, all the way through to the other side of things and looking at a bit more kind of detail in terms of how you embed things into curriculum, which might be seem kind of quite far away for you right now to some of you, but obviously Primary Futures is here to support across all of that. What I'm going to do now is share my screen and run through really practically, talk a little bit about how Primary Futures works. So as you can see here, can you see my screen okay? Fabulous, brilliant. So this is what you're kind of greeted with when you first log into Primary Futures. I've kind of commandeered another teacher's account in Devon at the moment that I'm using this on. As a little kind of explanation about what we do is the main way Primary Futures work is you set up what we call like an activity, which is just like another name for an employer encounter, and then invite people within the local community who've signed up to volunteer at least an hour a year with us into your school to talk about what job they do. I'll run through the practicalities of that in a minute, but I guess the key things to point out here is that Primary Futures is absolutely free to use, no matter how much you use it. Every bit of resources, all of it is completely free. And the key thing as well is that as many teachers within one school can have their own account. So super flexible, I guess, if you're looking at doing things within each individual classroom, each individual year group, or something catered towards something you teach specifically, all the way through to maybe managing things a little bit more top down as a careers lead within a primary school as well. So this is obviously what you're greeted with when you first logged in. We can see there where it says create a new activity, which I'll follow through in a minute. But alongside that main offer, we do have different other things such as a resource booklet with lots of interesting ideas and how to make volunteers coming into school to talk about their jobs a little bit more interactive, and different activities to do with pupils around kind of jobs that might not involve someone just simply at the front of a classroom talking about what they do. As well as that on the right hand side, which are really, really great, I think, as a first encounter into kind of doing something around careers as well. What we call our pre-recorded resources, which are various video resources catered for Key Stage and specific subjects that we've curated over the last 4 or 5 years, really, since the beginning of COVID, to help enhance and maybe kind of just apply a little bit more in terms of what you're doing within kind of schools on careers as well. You can see here there's a really long menu of lots of different ones, all the way through to STEM jobs with someone who works in cosmetic science and medical manufacturing, to one on the NHS, for example. So lots of different examples of different things within there that are really, really easy to access and can slot into a lesson, be that just showing 5 minutes of the video, or you can make an entire lesson out of it with all of it and some accompanying resources that come with it, which go in kind of instantly to your email once you've filled out this form. So for now, what I'm going to do is show you through the way Primary Futures works, the main way it works. The key thing about Primary Futures, and the thing I always say, is that we're teacher-led. So ideally, you'll feel empowered to kind of come on here yourself, go through this whole process on your own. Obviously, there is support within that resource booklet telling you how to do this. And as well as that, we do run somewhat fortnightly with a bit of flex introductory webinars as well, if yourself or different colleagues would like to learn a little bit more, where I go through all of this and a lot of the why and how side of things as well, in a bit more depth too. So I'll run through that process now. So creating an activity is really simple. So what you do is you fill in kind of 3 pages of information about what it is that you want to do, which is super because it's really, really flexible, all the way from maybe if you just want kind of 10 minutes of someone talking at the end of a lesson to kind of pull things together, to doing something really, really grand and big like a careers week as well. So I'll fill in some of this information just to give you an idea of what you might need to put. So a name for your activity. For this one, I'm just going to put something like assembly with Key Stage 2. How many volunteers will you need? Whether you'd like it in person or virtual and hybrid, which is an important point that I'll kind of talk a little bit about in a minute. For now, I'll just put in person. And whether you'd like it on single days, so like you have a specific day in mind, or if you're really flexible across multiple days, and then press next. Again, a little bit more information. So activity date on, similar to what my colleague from STEM Ambassadors mentioned earlier, we do recommend at least 4 weeks in advance. Again, just because that type of thing of volunteers booking volunteer leave, making sure they're free on the day, things like that. So for this one, I'll look, let's say around that kind of, I think, National Careers Week time, put the 6th of March. How many hours will they need needed for? Again, relatively self-explanatory. And how many young people as well? We're doing this with 4 classes, so about 120. And I'll do it with Key Stage 2, so select those age groups there. Final step from here is filling out a little bit of information. And when I say Primary Futures is great because it's so flexible, this is, I guess, where that happens. So what this is a description. And as it says here, it's really, really important section as it gives people that you're inviting in all the information they need about what you're doing. So we've got 4 different prompts. We've got aims of the activity, a little bit more about the audience, what will happen on the day, and when and where is it taking place. So again, you can really flex this to determine what you want to do within your class, be it once again, like kind of 10 minutes, maybe on Zoom, someone talking virtually to the children, all the way through to something maybe you're asking them to do kind of really interactive activity or something around their job like that. For a little bit of inspiration, we do have a kind of tutorial mode that will show you some examples of what you might want to put in these boxes as well, which are very well written and I find often really well kind of encompass everything that you might be doing. From here, you click here, which is let's search for volunteers. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to create this on this teacher's account right now. But another way of accessing this is by clicking search for volunteers along this top row. And now what this will do, it will put you kind of in, just give it a second to load, to where your school is kind of on a map. And on here, what you can see are some circles and a few pins. And what these represent are individual volunteers who are signed up on our platform. So I think we said there, it popped up momentarily, about 100 people within 10 miles, as you can see here, of this school just on the outskirts of Exeter. And you can see a little bit more about what these people do. So this person, Sarah, says they're self-employed and they work for the UK Floristry Judges Guild, which sounds really interesting. I can press view profile to find out a little bit more about them. Unfortunately, this person's actually not filled much in. So I'll go and have a little scroll through, see who I can find. We've got someone who works as an IT project manager. And you can also see some sectors that they've said that they work within as well. So this person's put engineering and things like that. And you can see they put a description about their job. They've put another kind of little thing about different things they can talk about, linking to their job as well. Someone who's a CEO of what looks like it says build, so maybe kind of construction side of things. Someone who works for the Royal National Institute for Blind People. Lots of different examples. We've got here someone who works for NHS, the NHS as well. And this is the really great thing about Primary Futures as well, is that you can really filter this search down to specifics. So looking at specific topics or specific sectors that are within your local community, all the way from going really kind of broad and looking at what is just out there within the local area, who can I invite in that the students might be, kind of pupils might be interested in, to looking to those, maybe a few links to what you're teaching within school, curriculum links and things like that as well. And you can do that by using these filters on the left-hand side. For example, if a common one that we might find on Key Stage 1 could be like people who help us, could search for healthcare and then press search, and it will filter down that search, there we go, to 36 people who said that they kind of work within that line of work. You can view this, so everyone within here in a list, which is a really great way of kind of going through everyone really quickly, all the way from, we've got someone who's a pharmacy student to people who work kind of in care management, someone who's a nurse as well. Really, really big variety again of different people. What you can do from here, just finally, is expand this search even more to look beyond, I guess, the local area. So we can go up to 37.5 miles, for example, around where we are in Exeter, expand that search more widely. And as well as that, you can search virtually as well. So looking at volunteers from all across the country, which I'll do by clicking virtual volunteers down here. And what that'll do is open up your search to absolutely everyone we have on the platform, as we do work across the entire country. At which point, obviously, using those filters to narrow the search down, you can see that we've got 4,000 people working in healthcare alone, which is a really, really great way maybe of finding jobs that might not exist within your local area. For example, I'm trying to think off the top of my head what jobs might not exist within kind of Devon around there. So maybe things in digital, engineering and things like that as well might be a really great way of doing that. Or more broadly, just a great way of finding volunteers who might be completely different to people that your pupils might have met before. So a really great way of diversifying what you're doing as well. Obviously, from here, the way to invite them is you just add them to a shortlist and then invite that shortlist. And from there, they can respond to you. You can chat with them on the platform and arrange what time you want them to come in. that's pretty much everything for me, and I hope that's acted as a good kind of brief introduction to the way we work. Like I said, any teacher can have an account, so feel free to sign up. I will also put probably my email, as I don't have any slides, I'll put my email into the chat as well, just in case anyone wants to contact me. Too, if you want a little bit more support or have any inquiries on how best to use Primary Futures, it's my job to make sure that you make the most out of this. So please do get in touch.
Thanks, Jude. Is it possible to do the map from Plymouth a minute? Because actually all our schools are in Plymouth. Could you it would just be interesting to see how many volunteers you've got in and around, and maybe have a quick look at the variety of people we've got in the local area.
Do you have, and this is a very specific question, a name of a school in Plymouth? Because I'm going to have to search for a school name.
Okay, someone want to shout out their school name? Who wants it?
Marine Academy Primary.
There you go. Marine Academy Primary is the winner. Could you pop that one in and see what happens? Thank you.
Sure, I'll find Marine Academy Primary. I'll just double check, because sometimes we might not have an account that's on the right side of things for various complicated reasons. I'll just double check on here. Unfortunately, I don't think there is one there that we have kind of on Primary Futures. Is there a different one that I might be able to put in?
Has anyone signed up for Primary Futures already? They can tell me their school name.
Sorry about this.
No, can you move the map around at all just to get it onto Plymouth?
Yeah, I will. What I can do is I do have, bear with me 2 seconds. I will be able to find someone. Just need to do a bit of searching on the back end side of things.
Okay, we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
If you think of any other questions, feel free to pop your hand up, anyone, or pop it in the chat.
Here we go. I'll just share my screen once it's loaded. There we go. Here we are within Plymouth. Yeah, I think it just popped up. There's 79, I guess, within this local area specifically. I'll go on to list just to make it a little bit more obvious. Seem to recall from previous work we've done, there's a really great variety of jobs actually around Plymouth, all the way from, as you can see here, some of those engineering ones. So reactor project management is probably someone, working kind of nuclear, which is really, really interesting, all the way to government. We've got someone who works for the Manta Trust, which is a kind of marine biology. They do a lot of really great outreach, actually, I know as well. I think some of them are STEM ambassadors too, so there is a little bit of overlap there. All the way to lots of different NHS, for a large variety of NHS volunteers, which we find everywhere because we have a partnership with Health Education England, so you'll find lots of really great NHS people. We've got someone who works at Rolls-Royce, for example, as well. And again, same principle applies. You can increase that search and look a bit more kind of wider. So we've got 98 within that area. Or you can also, which I did forget to mention, you can look a bit more specifically by searching for keywords within your kind of job descriptions that people have put up here. So I'm trying to think of something like doctor and see if anything comes up. Which it might not, because it is a bit dependent upon what people have written, but there we go. We've got 3 people who said the word doctor within there as well. So yeah, really great variety on that.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. And I think one of the things I wanted to promote as well is what you said about the virtual, because I know we had a conversation on one of our last meetings that sometimes getting a diverse range of people in can be difficult, because the Southwest, by its nature, it's not always the most diverse place in the country. So actually it's great to have access virtually to a large number of organisations which don't exist down here, as well as a more diverse workforce than is available in some places. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, I know on that as well, just as a brief example I can think of off the top of my head, which is a bit more local. I worked with a really rural school actually in Cornwall last year, and they said exactly the same thing you just said, Tony, about how do we get diversity into the school that we can't really find within the local community. And they got 2 people. I think they got someone who actually worked in Aberdeen, so literally the other end of the country. They were an engineer on offshore wind turbines. So again, kind of within that marine space, but again, completely different. And then someone else they got worked for the kind of, I think called the Office of Nuclear Safety, so look on nuclear safety of like power plants in the UK. And he had a really interesting backstory in that he'd studied in India and moved here when he was younger, that I know the teacher of the school said the children were amazed about, because it really wasn't the idea of even kind of moving from city to city, let alone from the other side of the world to kind of more locally in the southwest, was even possible for them. So it's a really great way of enhancing, I guess, careers from the outset and thinking a bit more kind of broadly about the world around them too.
Brilliant, thank you. That's great. Any more questions coming in from anybody? Okay, I'm just going to give you like 1 more minute in case someone's getting ready to type something. And I think then we will let our guests depart and then just have a bit of a catch up with everyone just to see how people are doing, and then I'll stop the recording as well. Yes, Fiona, we will send a summary and the links from everyone, so you've all got that, so you can sign up to anything you want to, whether it's STEM Ambassadors or Primary Futures or the SRO, stuff like that. So yeah, we'll make sure you've got it all. I'll do that probably tomorrow and get it out to you. So, okay, in which case, thank you, Sam, Jude and Catherine for coming. We'll let you go on with your day and then let everyone else
Thank you.
have a little chat.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.